Hi, welcome to another episode of TG School of Mathematics. Today we are going to discuss from the topics graphs and functions. For metric students, graphs and function is a very important topic. There are a lot of marks from that topic. So let's start with the question November 2018, question number 4. Let's start with the November 2018 question number 4. Okay. So what is question number 4? In the diagram below, the graph of f of x is equal to ax squared is drawn in the interval x less than or equal to 0. So there is a graph f of x is equal to ax squared. Okay. So before you watch this video, please make sure that this question paper is with you. Okay, so that's very important. You will get the question paper from the description box. There is a link for these questions, so you can click on that link and download that question paper. Or if you have this past question paper, it's November 2018, please take that question and then listen this one. Okay, that's very important. In the diagram below, the graph of f of x is equal to ax square. So there is a graph or an equation given like this: f of x is equal to ax squared. So ax squared, x square, that means the power of x is 2. So what type of equation is this? This is a quadratic equation, or they are talking about a quadratic graph. Okay, because the highest power of x is 2. Is drawn in the interval x less than or equal to 0. So here the value of x must be less than or equal to 0, and there you can see that there is a graph given like this. There you can see that there is a graph given like this, and this is the y-axis and this one is the x-axis. This is the y-axis. Okay, now the graph there is a graph given like this, and there is another graph like this, and this graph is f and this is f inverse graph, and there is a point given here, and that point is called r, and there is another point here, that is p, and the coordinate of that point is also given, -6, -12. Okay, the graph f inverse is also drawn. P -6, -12 is a point on f, and r is a point on f inverse of graph. Now, based on this information, we have to answer the following questions. What is first question? Question number 4.1. Question number 4.1. Is f inverse a function? Motivate your answer. You have to find this graph f inverse is a function. Let me draw that f inverse graph with a red color. So this graph f inverse is a function or not. What is the meaning of function? For every x value, you remember this one, you studied in grade 10. These are the x values and these are the y values. Okay, for example, a, b, c, d, e, f, these are the elements of x and y. So if this a is related to d, and b is related to d, and c is related to f, so how many relation for this a? Only one relation, that is with d. How many relation for this b? There also it's only one relation. Even though this a is also related to d, but doesn't matter, for this b, how many relation? Only one relation, that is with this d. Okay, then c, how many relation? Only one relation, that c is related to f. So it means that for every x value, all the x values, only one relation in y value, then that type of relation is known as a function. But if it is like this b is related to d, and if this b is related to e also, then this is not a function. Why it is not a function? Because this b is having two relation with y, so it is not a function. Okay, so for every x value only one y value. So look at this one. I am going to take an x value here. How many y values here I am getting in in f inverse graph? Look at this one. I have only one y value here. If I draw a line like this, how many y values here? Only one y value. If I take an x value here, how many y values I have? I have only one y value, that is this one. Okay, if I take an x value here, how many y values I have? Only one y value, that is this one. That means for every x value only one y value, then that one is a function. Or how can you say in other words? You can say last year you studied a vertical line test. If you take a ruler, assume that this is a ruler, okay, and you put a here like this vertically, and how many points this ruler touching, how many times this ruler touching that graph f inverse. If it is more than one, it's not a function. But if now we can see that this f inverse graph is touching only once, so vertical line test is fine, so it is a function. So anyway, you can just write in your own words what you can write, motivate your answer also. Okay, so yes means that we are saying that f inverse is a function. And what is the reason? For every x values only one corresponding y value. For every x values, there is only one corresponding y values. So we can say that f inverse is a function. So for every x value there is only one y value, so it is a function. Okay, so that is question number 4.1. Now let's go to the next question. Let me draw this graph once more. This is mess now. Okay guys, before I go to the next lesson, next question, try to understand this one also. Let me draw a graph here. Okay, this is my x-axis and this is the y-axis. Okay, so assume that I took one x value here. Assume that is -1. So for this -1, how many y values I am getting? You can see that to both sides there are y values. Here this is one y value, and here if I draw to this side there is another y value. That means for one x value, for example -1, I am getting two y values. For one x value I am getting two y values. So it means that this one is not a function. Look at another point. Take another point. I took only one x value. How many y values I am getting? One is here. There is one y value here, and another y value somewhere here. How many y values I am getting? Two y values. That means for one x value I am getting two corresponding y values. So it is not a function. But if I draw like this, something like this, our normal parabola graph. If I draw a parabola like this, in this case there is no problem. Why? Because if I take one x value somewhere here, How many y values I am getting? I am getting only one y value here. If I take an x value here, how many y values I am getting? I am getting only one y value. That means this one is a function. So this one is a function, but this one is not a function, because for one x value there are two corresponding y values. So it is not a function. I hope it's clear now what is the definition of a function. Okay, so if for one x value, if there are two y values, then it is not a function. Now let's go to the next question, question number 4.2. So this is the graph given in that question. There is a point here, and that is p minus 6 comma minus 12, and there is a corresponding point here r, and this one is f graph and this is f inverse. Okay, fine. So this is the x-axis and this one is the y-axis. Now what is question number 4.2? Question number 4.2. If r is the reflection of p in the line y is equal to x, write down the coordinates of r. What is the meaning of that? They are saying that this point r, this is the point r, okay, this point r is the reflection of this p. This coordinate, this point r is a reflection of this p. Then what is based on the line y is equal to x? Which one is the line y is equal to x? Now in grade 10 you studied, assume that this is the x and y axis, this is the y axis and this is the x axis, and this line passing through that center point, okay, and make sure that this angle is 45 degrees, okay. So that line, the equation of this line is known as y is equal to x. So here where is that y is equal to x? It is passing through somewhere here. Like this, and this is the line y is equal to x, okay. So now what is the question? This r is the reflection of this p based on the line y is equal to x. Then what is the coordinate of r? Okay, so it's very easy to find the answer. If the reflection is based on the line y is equal to x, you don't want to think anything else, you just try to understand like this. If the reflection is based on the line based, you don't want to write like this in your exam, okay, this one is just for you to understand. If the reflection is based on the line y is equal to x, what you are supposed to do? X comma y, you have to write it as y comma x. That means you have to swap it around, just like a f inverse. You know, f inverse also we are going to do that type of question, okay. So f inverse also we are doing the same thing. If you want to find f inverse, you swap x and y. You studied it in your school, okay. So it's the same thing for the reflection based on, this is a reflection based on the line y is equal to x. What you have to do? You have to swap x and y, okay. So here what is the coordinate of p? Coordinate of p is minus 6 comma minus 12. So what about the coordinate of r? How can you find the coordinates of r? You just swap it around, x and y. This is x, this is y. So what is the coordinate of r? Y comma x. That means y is, here you can see that this one is your x and this is your y. What is the rule? If the reflection is based on the line y is equal to x, you swap x and y. X comma y becomes y comma x. Y comma x means minus 12 comma minus 6. So that is the coordinate of r. That is question number 4.2. Okay. Now let's go to the next question, question number 4.3. Question number 4.3. What is question number 4.3? Calculate the value of A. Which one is A? You have to find the value of this A. Okay. So it's a simple question. F of x is the same as, what is f of x? F of x is the same as y. So y is equal to, it's a function. Y is equal to ax square. So we are considering f of x. So which one is our f of x? This one is our f of x. Do you know any coordinate in that f of x graph? Yes, we know this -6 comma -12. We already find in the previous question we got what is the coordinate of r. What was that? -12 comma -6. But for this one, don't take this one -12 comma -6. Don't make mistake like that, because this -12 comma -6 is the coordinate of this f inverse of x graph. But where is this a? Our a lies in f of x graph. Okay, so you must have to take this point, not this one. Okay, this one is graph is something different, f inverse. Okay, so you have to take this point P. So x value is -6 and y value is -12. Y is equal to, what is our y? -12. So -12 is equal to a into x square. What is x? -6 square. Is it fine? So what is -6 square? 36. Okay, so -12 is equal to a into 36. So here look at this one, a times 36. So since if it is times here on the right side, if I want to take this 36 to the left side, what must I do? Here it is times, so on the left side it is division. Okay, so what is that one? -12 divided by 36 is equal to a. Okay, or maybe in your class you studied like this, -12 is equal to a into 36. Okay, we have to find the value of a. Okay, so divide both sides with the 36. Maybe you studied like that. Okay, so this 36 cancel, and what is remaining? A is equal to -12 over 36. Okay, you are in grade 12. Okay, you have to understand from this step without writing all these blah 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 steps. Okay, so from here a is equal to, since here it is multiplication, if I want to take this 36 to this side, it is division. That's all you want to remember. Okay, so it is -12 divided by 36. So what is the value of a now? A is equal to, when you simplify this one, 12 times 3 is 36. So a is equal to -1 over 3. 12 divided by 12 is 1. 36 divided by 12 is 3. So it is -1 over 3, and that is the value of a. And that's the question 4.3. So let's write the equation. F of x is equal to ax squared. What is the value of a now? -1 over 3 x square. So that is the equation. Is it fine? Okay, so that is question number 4.3. Now question number 4.4. It's a very important question. It's very simple, but it's very important. Okay, question number 4.4. Question number 4.4. Write down the equation of f inverse in the form of y is equal to. So this is our f of x. So let me write f of x once more. F of x is equal to ax squared. You remember last question we already got the value of a. It was -1 over 3 x square. Okay, so here this f of x is the same as y. Okay, so let me write that one. Y is equal to -1 over 3 x square. Now look at the question once more. Write down the equation of f inverse of x in the form of y is equal to. So you have to write, this is f of x. You have to write f inverse of x. So how can you write f inverse of x? what you studied in okay, next one is question number 4.4. That is what is the question? Write down the equation of f inverse of x, f inverse in the form of y is equal to. So this is our f of x. Okay, so let's write once more. F of x is equal to ax squared. The previous question we got the value of a, that was minus 1 over 3 x squared. Okay, now you know that this f of x is the same as y. Okay, so let's write that step. Y is equal to minus 1 over 3 x square. Now look at the question once more. You have to find f inverse. Write down the equation of f inverse in the form of y is equal to. Okay, so how can you write f inverse? How can you find f inverse? I'm going to find f inverse. How can you find that one? What you studied in your class? To find f inverse, you just swap x and y. Okay, y is equal to, you swap x and y becomes x, x becomes y is equal to, so what must I write? X is equal to minus 1 over 3 x square minus 1 over 3 y square. Do you understand what I did? I swap x and y. Okay, so listen once more. Previous question we did something like this: reflection based on the line y is equal to x, and this one to find f inverse. In both of these cases, what you are supposed to do? You have to swap x and y. Okay, you must keep that in your mind. Okay, if the reflection is based on the line y is equal to x, or if you want to find f inverse, it's very easy to remember. You swap x and y. So here you can see that y is equal to, so I wrote x is equal to x square, I wrote y square. That's all. But you know, here we can't leave an equation like this. X is equal to, what is our standard form? Y is equal to, or in the question they want the answer in the form y is equal to. So how can you write the answer in the form y is equal to? So from here you know, this 3 is in the denominator. If I want to take that division to this side, it is multiplication. Here 3 denominator means it's division. Okay, so if I want to take this 3 to the numerator, it is, I mean to the left side, it is multiplication. So 3 into x is 3x is equal to minus 1 into y squared, that is minus y squared. So what is y squared? Throughout multiply with a negative. So minus 3x is equal to y square. So from here what is okay, let me write once more. Y squared is equal to minus 3x. Okay, so from here what is y? Y is equal to root of minus 3x. But this is not the answer. You know, if it is 4, x square is equal to 4. What is x? How do you write x squared is equal to 4? What is x? X is equal to plus or minus 2. Root of 4 is plus or minus 2. Similarly, in this one also, y squared is equal to minus 3x. So what is y? It is supposed to be plus or minus root of minus 3x. Okay, but here there is a problem. Y is equal to plus root of minus 3x or minus root of minus 3x. Look at our graph. Here this f inverse graph, this is our f inverse equation. Okay, so in this graph, what is the y value here? Here the y value is negative. Here it is y value positive. Here it is y value negative. So is there any positive y value in this graph f inverse of x? There is no positive y value. That means you don't want to take this positive sign. So what is the final answer? It implies that y is equal to, you only want to consider the negative one, because here the y value is negative. Okay, so the final answer is minus root of minus 3x. So that is the y value. Okay, so here maybe some of you, those who studied this one, maybe you are thinking root of a minus 1 is undefined, how can you find the answer? Okay, but don't forget that at the beginning of the question it is given that x is less than or equal to 0. Look at the beginning of the question, x is less than or equal to 0. X is less than or equal to 0 means x is a 0 or negative values. So if here it is x value negative, so that x value negative into this negative, it is going to be positive. Okay, so there is a meaning for that. Okay, so anyway, what is our f inverse? Y is equal to minus of my root of minus 3x. Okay, that is the equation of f inverse in the form of y is equal to. Okay, so that is question number 4.4. Now let's go to question number 5. Okay, question number 5. Given f of x is equal to minus 1 divided by x minus 1. So there is a function given like this, minus 1 divided by x minus 1. What type of function is that? Is it a linear function or a quadratic function or a hyperbolic function or an exponential function? What do you say about that? Minus 1 divided by x minus 1. Of course, that is a hyperbolic function. Why it is a hyperbolic function? Because look at this one. If f of x is equal to x plus 4, g of x is equal to x squared minus 2x plus 3, h of x is equal to 3 divided by x minus 5 plus 6, k of x is equal to 2 into 1 over 2 raised to x minus 5. What type of functions are this one? The first one, f of x, is a linear function. Why it is called a linear function? Straight line. Because the power of x is, or the highest power of x is 1. So it is a straight line. This one is a quadratic function. Why it is a quadratic function? Because the highest power of x is 2. There is 1 here, but the highest power is 2. So it is a quadratic function. Okay, parabola. Then h of x is equal to 3 divided by x. Where is the variable now? Variable is this x, and that variable is in the denominator or below. Okay, if the variable this x is in the denominator, then that is a hyperbolic function. Okay, so this one is a hyperbolic, either like this or like this. Okay, then what type of function is this one? Last one. Where is the variable here? As an exponent. That is why this type of function is called a exponential function. Okay, so here we can see that the variable is in the denominator. So what type of function is that? It's an hyperbolic function. Okay, okay, now come back to our question. Where is my duster? F of x is equal to a divided by x plus b plus q. This is the general form of a hyperbolic function. Okay, so here what are the equations of the asymptotes? It's x is equal to here plus p, so it is minus p, and y is equal to q. I'm just just a recap what you studied in your class. So what are the asymptotes? Asymptotes what are the equations of the asymptote? X is equal to, if here it is plus b, you have to write x is equal to minus b, y is equal to q. Okay, there are a lot of theorems or lot of things behind this one. You have to study that one. Okay, I am explaining in a nutshell. Okay, so x is equal to minus b and y is equal to q are the asymptotes. Okay, now if the value of this a is positive, if the value of a is positive, the graph is a decreasing graph. What is the meaning of decreasing graph? For example, 2 divided by x minus 3 plus 5 or 2. Okay, so here what is the value of a? It's a positive number. So the graph is a decreasing graph. What is a decreasing graph means? Look at this one. This graph is decreasing, 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 and here also decreasing, 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 decreasing. So in which quadrants? First quadrant and third quadrant. When if the value of a is positive. Okay, but if the value of a is negative, then it is an increasing graph. What is the meaning of increasing graph? Increasing, 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 increasing. Am I right? Here also increasing, 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 like that. Okay, so if the value of a is negative, then the graph is an increasing graph. If it is positive, then the graph is a decreasing graph. Okay, now what is the meaning of domain and range? You know that domain means possible x values and range means possible y values. Okay, now come back to our question number 5, this one. What is question number 5? 5.1. Write down the domain of f. You have to write the domain of f. Okay, so in this one, how can you write the domain of f? Domain, what is the meaning of domain? You have to write the possible x values, that is a domain. Question number 5.1. So here in this graph, maybe I can write like this: minus 1 divided by x minus 1, that is there. Okay, plus, I'm just putting plus 0. No problem, nobody will fight with you. Plus 0 means there is no change in the graph. Okay, so what are the asymptotes here? Asymptotes means x is equal to opposite of this sign, minus 1. So asymptote is 1. And what is the second asymptote? Y is equal to 0. Okay, so in this equation, what are the asymptotes? X is equal to 1 and y is equal to 0. How do you mark an asymptote? You are you studied in your class. Asymptotes normally we mark with a dotted line. What is this one? X is equal to 1. So here you can see this is x is equal to 1. This point is x is equal to 1. So this x is equal to 1 is the vertical asymptote. So or opposite of this one is the vertical asymptote. Here x minus 1. So what is the vertical asymptote? X is equal to 1. Okay. Then this one, y is equal to 0. That is the horizontal asymptote. So where is y is equal to 0? That is the x-axis. This is 0. Am I right? Okay. So this x-axis itself is an asymptote. Y is equal to 0. Okay. So there are, in this case also there are two asymptotes. One is x is equal to 1 and the other one is y is equal to 0. But this y is equal to 0 is the same as x-axis. Okay. So now in the case of an asymptote x is equal to 1, is it possible for the graph to touch the asymptote? No, never. The graph can't touch the asymptote. So what is the meaning of that? If I draw a graph like this and let's say this is 1. Okay. So since here it is negative, the graph is an increasing graph. So it is supposed to be like this. Okay. So when it is 1, Look at this one. When here a value of a is negative, it is an increasing graph, and you know that the asymptote is 1. Okay, so here also is an increasing graph. Okay, so this is a rough graph. Okay, we will draw the, I think there is a question 5.3, we have to draw this graph. Okay, so anyway, try to understand like this. You know, x is equal to positive 1 is the asymptote. So what is the meaning of that? When x is equal to 1, you can't find any value on the graph. You understand? When x is equal to 1, is there any graph? There is no graph. But if I take x is equal to 2, if I take x is equal to 2, let's say this is 2. Okay, this is my 2. I can find a point on the graph. Am I right? If x is equal to something 0.5, I can find a point on the graph. But when x is equal to 1, is there any point on the graph? No, there is no point on the graph. So it means that you can't find any point on the graph when x is equal to 1. Okay. Now look at this side. This graph is continuing to this side. Okay. So it means that negative side I can take any point. Okay, if I take this point, look at that, I can find a point on the graph. This one, I can find a point on the graph. This x value, I can find a point on the graph. This x value, I can find a point on the graph. This x value, I can find a point on the graph. That means to this side, for any x value, I can find a point. Here, I can find a point on the graph. Here, I can find a point on the graph. Okay, so what about 1? You can't find any point on the graph because that is the vertical asymptote. Okay, then after that 1.5, can you find a point on the graph? Yes, there is a point on the graph, because here also I can find a point on the graph. 2, 3, I can find a point on the graph. 4, I can find. That means to this side also I can find any point. That means it can take any x value to the negative side and any x value to the positive side, except which x value, x is equal to 1. Okay, it can take any positive real number, any positive values or any negative values. Only one condition. What is that? It can't be x is equal to 1. So how can you write the domain? Domain, we are going to write the domain. Okay, so domain set x such that, don't worry about this one, this is just a fashion, that's all. Okay, but the real thing is x such that x is an element of R. What is the meaning of that? X can take any real number, but x is not equal to positive 1. Why x is not equal to positive 1? Because you know that x is equal to 1 is the asymptote. So look at how I wrote the domain. Domain x such that x can take any real number, or x is an element of R. Okay, but x is not equal to 1. That is the domain. Okay, so that is question number 5.1. Now let's go to 5.2. Question number 5.2, that one we already did that one. Write down the asymptotes of f. You have to write down the asymptotes of f. So you know, like what I said, this is our equation. So f of x is equal to -1 divided by x minus 1. So there is no problem if I put a plus 0 here. Okay, so if it is like this, you know that this is it's a general form of a hyperbolic function. So if it is like this, what are the asymptotes? X is equal to 1, we already discussed that one. X is equal to positive 1 and y is equal to 0. So in addition to that one, let me explain one more thing. In case if the question is like this, y is equal to -1 divided by x plus 1 plus 0. In case if the question is like this, then what are the asymptotes? X is equal to, here it is plus 1. So what are the asymptotes? X is equal to minus 1, and here there is no difference, that is y is equal to 0. So if it is plus 1, you have to write the equation of the asymptote as x is equal to minus 1 and there is no change, y is equal to 0. Okay. So now let's go to question number 5.3. Okay. Question number 5.3. Sketch the graph of f clearly showing all intercepts with the axis and any asymptotes. So you have to sketch that graph. Sketch the graph of f clearly showing all intercepts with the axis and any asymptotes. So what are the asymptotes? We know the asymptotes. Let me write once more. What are the asymptotes? X is equal to 1 and y is equal to 0. Okay. So to draw this hyperbolic graph, what else we want? We want x-intercept and y-intercept. Okay. So at x-intercept, or let me find the y-intercept. At y-intercept, you know, x is equal to 0. This is how you study it. Okay. To find the y-intercept, you know that the value of x is 0. Okay. So what is our equation? Let's write the equation. F of x is equal to, that is the same as y is equal to minus 1 divided by x minus 1. Okay. So what is the value of x? X is equal to 0. So what is that one? Y is equal to minus 1 divided by 0. X value is 0. 0 minus 1. What is 0 minus 1? Minus 1. Okay. So y is equal to minus 1 divided by minus 1. Minus by minus is positive. 1 by 1 is 1. So what is the y value? Y is equal to 1. Look at this one. How can you find? At y-intercept, you substitute the value of x as 0 in this equation. So you substituted here x is equal to 0. And what is the answer you got? Y is equal to 1. So what is the coordinate now? Coordinate is equal to, what is x? 0. What is y? 1. So the coordinate is 0 comma 1. Okay. Now we have to find the x-intercept. Actually in this question there is no x-intercept. Okay. Anyway, let's try to find y is equal to 0. Look at this. We find we know what are the asymptotes. We try to find the y-intercept. Now we are trying to find x-intercept. You won't get any answer. Okay. But anyway, just try. What is our equation? Y is equal to, our equation is minus 1 divided by x minus 1. Okay. So what we want to substitute? Y as 0. So substitute here. 0 is equal to minus 1 divided by x minus 1. Am I right? Y is equal to, y is the same as 0. Okay. 0 is equal to minus 1 divided by x minus 1. So if I cross multiply this one, this 0 into x minus 1 is 0. 0 is equal to minus 1. Is it correct? That means it is, you can't find the x. X is undefined. Why it is undefined? If you cross multiply this one, 0 into x minus 1, that is 0. 0 is equal to minus 1. Is there any meaning of that? There is no meaning. So we can't say that 0 is equal to minus 1. Okay. So x, you can't find the answer. What is the meaning of that? When we draw the graph, you will understand. There is no x-intercepts. That means that graph is not touching the x-axis. That is the meaning of the, that is why we are not getting any x values here. Okay. Anyway, let's try to draw that graph, then we can understand. So this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. First, what we have to draw? We have to draw the asymptotes. What are the asymptotes here? X is equal to 1. We tried to draw this one before. This is, assume that this one is 1. Okay. So asymptotes normally we draw with the dotted line. And y is equal to 0. y is equal to 0 is the same as x-axis. Okay, it is not compulsory that you have to draw that one. Okay, now what are the y-intercept? Y-intercept is 0 comma 1, x is 0, y 1. So let's say this is 1. So x is 0, y 1 means this point. Okay, and there is no x intercept, only y intercept we have, no x intercept. So now look at the graph, look at the equation. The value of a is minus. Do you remember I told you, if the value of a is minus or negative, it means that the graph is a increasing graph. Okay, so here you are supposed to draw based on this asymptote. So how can we draw an increasing graph? Like this, and you just to draw the reflection of this one. Okay, and this point is 1 comma 0, and make sure that you mark these points. Okay, and yeah, that's all. That is f of x graph. Okay, now let's go to question number 5.4. What is the question there? For which values of x, that means you have to find the values of x, for which values of x, and what is the condition? X into, this is the condition, you have to find the values of x, and what is the condition? X into f dash of x is greater than or equal to 0. You must be very careful in this one. You have to find the values of x. Okay, and what is the condition? X times f dash of x is greater than or equal to 0. What is the meaning of greater than or equal to 0? It means that it must be positive. Okay, so now before I explain this one, let's go to what is the meaning of this f dash of x. That is the first derivative. Do you remember in calculus you studied f dash of x or f prime of x, okay, whatever may be. So that is the derivative, first derivative. Okay, so f dash of x, you know, in your class you studied, assume that this one is a cubic graph. Okay, this one is a cubic graph. In this cubic graph, this is my f of x graph, and here you can see that here the graph is increasing, am I right, up to this point. Okay, so from this point, this is the turning point, from this point to that side the graph is decreasing up to this turning point. Then after that turning point the graph is again increasing. So increasing, decreasing, again increasing. Okay, so now you know, those who I'm not going to explain much more detail on this one. You can watch my calculus that cubic graph, that section. Okay, so you will get better understanding of this one. Okay, now to explain this one, let me quickly explain this one like this. So when the graph is increasing, what you studied in your class, f dash of x is greater than 0. When the graph is increasing, first derivative is greater than 0, first derivative is positive, greater than 0 means positive. Then here it is decreasing, that means the first derivative f dash of x is less than 0 or it is negative. Then again the graph is increasing, that means the first derivative is greater than 0 or positive. So try to understand like that. If a graph increases, the first derivative is positive. Here you can see that the graph is increasing, so the first derivative is positive. Here also, from this point also the graph is increasing, that means the first derivative is greater than 0. But if a graph is decreasing, then the first derivative is less than 0 or negative. That is this one. Okay. Now here look at our graph. Is this graph is increasing or decreasing? Of course it is increasing graph. Am I right? So here it's increasing and here also it is increasing. That means what is f dash of x? F dash of x is greater than 0 or positive. What do you studied? If a graph is increasing, then first derivative is greater than 0. Here the graph is increasing. So what is the first derivative? Greater than 0. It must be greater than 0. It means that this first derivative is fixed, that is positive in our graph. This first derivative, of course it is must that this one is positive, because our graph is an increasing graph. If it is increasing, first derivative is positive. If a graph is increasing, first derivative is positive. Okay, so it is very clear now that this one is positive. Okay, and now look at this one. Two quantities are multiplied and the answer is positive. Greater than or equal to 0 means the answer is positive. Okay, so two quantities are multiplied and answer is positive. You know that how can you get the answer positive when you multiply? Either both of this one must be positive, positive times positive, positive, or both of that one must be negative, then only you will get a positive. But in this case we know that this one is positive, so one is positive, so the other one also must be positive. Then only when you multiply this positive times positive you will get a positive answer greater than or equal to 0. So it means that since this one is positive, our graph is an increasing graph, this one is positive, we know that. Okay, so if you want to, when you multiply this one and the answer is positive, means that this one also must be positive. Okay, so look at this one. From this point, this is our x-axis, this one is our x-axis. From here to this side x is positive, from here to this side x is negative. Okay, so since this one is positive, this one also must be positive. So x positive means x must be greater than 0. Then only the product of this one must be greater than 0. So what is the value of x? It implies that x is greater than or equal to 0. In case if x is less than or equal to 0, what is going to happen? X less than or equal to 0. In case if it is less, then this one is negative. Negative into positive is negative or less than. Here we want positive. So this one must be positive. So positive means x greater than or equal to 0. So what is the answer? This is the answer. You don't want to write any stories. You can just write the final answer. What is the final answer? X greater than or equal to 0. You will get 2 marks. Okay, but this is the theory part behind that. Okay, so try to understand this one. So the answer is x greater than or equal to 0. So that is question number 5. Okay, 5.4. Now I'm going to pause this class here. We will continue. This is we didn't finish November 2018 yet. There is one more question. This is we done question number 4 and 5 in this episode. Okay, I'm going to do another episode, continuation of this same November 2018 question paper. There is question number 6 also. Okay, so that's also a big question, 20 marks. You know, this graph and functions question here in November 2018, 20 plus 8, 28, 28 plus 5, 32 plus 3, 35 marks are from these graphs and function questions. Okay, so we can't I can't upload in a single video. So continuation of this one, same November 2018, there is another video. Okay, so after you finish watching, after you finish studying this one, watch that one. Okay, that is question number 6. Okay, Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed my class. You understood at least something. So keep on practicing, keep on watching. And those who are watching my channel for the first time, if you like my channel, if you like my teaching, my classes, please click on the like button and subscribe my channel. Okay, thank you.